Welcome to Fan for Racing Radio. I'm Fan for Racing Sharon, and joining me is Jay Hughesman. We are here for our Darlington review of the NASCAR Xfinity Series. Welcome to the show, Jay.
Thank you, Sharon. Happy to be here as always. And wow, what a weekend it was at Darlington. I know we got the ARCA Menard Series 2 to cover, the West Series from Tucson, but NASCAR's two top series anyway out at Darlington.
Yes, indeed. And as you mentioned, the ARCA West out in Tucson Speedway. We thought Sal was going to be able to go there, but the flu struck his house. And so he is home sick today after his wife was sick all weekend. So our thoughts are with Sal and his wife as they deal with some sickness there. So Jay and I are going to be here for the duration of the evening. We're starting, of course, with the Xfinity Series, and the rest will follow. So your overall thoughts about the Xfinity Series race, Jay?
You know, they call it, we talked about it in the preview, the track too tough to tame. Ironic that somebody that tamed it hadn't tamed any race in, 98 races, I believe. Great to see that. I thought there was some great racing again overall. We got a mixture of Cup drivers, a couple of them frustrated with each other, as always, I guess, if you will. I shouldn't say always, but yeah, it happens. So,
and it's probably going to happen again next week, Jay.
Right, yeah, going into Bristol, right, get in between Martinsville and Bristol there. But just looking at it real quick, too, same story we've seen all year. Rookies, some of them real good. Actually, overall, a lot more good showings by rookies than what I would have thought. But there was then about half of them that didn't have that good showing. So we'll talk about all that.
Okay. Yes, I thought it was a good race. I'm happy that Brandon Jones got the monkey off of his back. After 98 races of not winning, he finally brought home the trophy at Darlington Raceway. So after diligently working through those 98 winless races, the last three NASCAR Xfinity Series seasons, Joe Gibbs Racing's Brandon Jones reminded competitors and his fans that he is still there as a title contender and a race winner. So he snapped that 98 race winless streak dating back 3 calendar years. So driving the number 20 for Joe Gibbs Racing at Darlington becomes the second track on the circuit that Jones has multiple wins, also at Kansas. So he becomes one of a few drivers with multiple wins there. Running his lone Xfinity race of the season, Chase Elliott placed second, rebounding from early woes in the race. Stage 2 winner Justin Allgaier led a race-high 56 laps. He ended up finishing third. Ross Chastain, another one of the Cup regulars, and Carson Cavapo, one of the rookies, rounded out the top 5. Now, Connor Zilic, another rookie. Christian Eckes, another rookie. Nick Sanchez, another rookie. And Sammy Smith, along with Sheldon Creed, complete the top 10 finishers. Harrison Burton tallied the 4th most points during the race, including a victory in stage 1. There were 14 lead changes among 9 drivers, 6 cautions for 36 yellow flag laps. The average speed of the race was 104.812 miles per hour. And as we already mentioned, Carson Cavapo was the highest finishing rookie of the race. Your thoughts there about our top 10 finishers?
Well, being a fan of Brandon Jones, I was happy to see him win. I know he's got some that aren't fans of his, and he acknowledged that. I really wish he'd have flourished more at junior motorsports. I think that was an opportunity, and it just didn't seem to click. But coming back to Joe Gibbs Racing, we've seen it of building and coming to this point. I really did have faith he would win a race this year, and he did. You mentioned it, a track he's won at before, so obviously that helps. And you mentioned it. I do think he is going to be a contender. Whether he's a top contender, I wouldn't necessarily say that, but he will be a contender. From there on, Justin Allgaier, right now, talking about junior motorsports, the man on point, the defending champion. Through the season, I'd say that's been the strongest team and driver all season. Doesn't necessarily have all the wins. That seems to be his MO, though. Obviously, I would put him as a very strong contender come season end. We had a couple of the Cup drivers, Chase Elliott and Ross Chastain, you mentioned, and they do Cup driver things. I mixed it up a little, actually, between the two of them as well as others. But here's where I talked about in that little bit of a preview, the rookies. We had some rookies that had some good showings and was a little surprising. I know they've run there in the trucks or other series, but still, at this level, Connor Zilic. Yeah, Connor Zilic in a row. Connor Zilic, Christian Eckes, Nick Sanchez, and who did I miss? Oh, yeah, I started. Yep, you're right. I started one too many down. Carson Cavapo, then Connor Zilic, Christian Eckes, and Nick Sanchez. And that's great. I love seeing that. Unfortunately, all year it's been a pack of them do real good, one or two not so good in the middle, and then one or two that have bad. And unfortunately, we'll hit on those here in a minute. But the final two there, Sammy Smith and Sheldon Creed. Sammy Smith having the situation and points and everything for the week. Again, you may not be a fan of his, but the one thing I do want to see is see him be competitive, put it behind him. Yes. You know, that's a lot to ask. And he is still, what did they say, 21 or 22 years old, a young driver. So to be able to still be Sammy Smith, just like they said, we want to see Ross Chastain be Ross Chastain. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we want to see him maybe bridle down or, rein it in just a little, but still be who they are. And I thought we saw that from Sammy Smith, and I hope we do going forward. And then Sheldon Creed, again, I have been severely impressed with how quickly Haas Factory team has been here in the Xfinity Series. Again, don't have the wins, some second places by Sheldon Creed himself. But also then just outside the top 10, I just think about the second half of the season, some of the things we're in store for. Jesse Love, Harrison Burton, Ryan Sieg, been very strong to start the season. I think we're going to have a tight battle when it comes to the playoff spots. I don't think it'll be based off of the wins, but I think some of those points battles are going to be huge.
I agree. And I really think the second half of the season is where we're already seeing signs of it. I think the second half of the season is going to be in full force. So there's a lot to look forward to for race fans. The other rookie, William Sawalich, he finished down in 35th place. Dean Thompson in 18th. Daniel Dye in 17th. So that's the 7 rookies that we have this year. Chris Wright had suspension issues that took him out of the race on lap 27. Leland Honeyman had an accident. He was out of the race on lap 128. Josh Williams had overheating issues. That took him out of the race on lap 137. On lap 139, William Sawalich was not out of the race, but he was multiple laps down. So those are the only drivers that had issues in this race. Most of the drivers finished on the lead lap. So Taylor Gray was the last car on the lead lap, and he finished in that 33rd spot.
And there again, Taylor Gray is a rookie. You missed him, and he had an issue there at the very end and finished at the tail end of the lead lap. So finished 33rd with Sawalich's 35. Then you had the pair with Daniel Dye and Dean Thompson at 17th to 18th. I really thought this was one of the weeks that Daniel Dye was going to be in the top tier. Yeah, he was definitely in there mixing it up throughout the race. So
Taylor Gray, by the way, had the fastest lap of the race on lap 2. So there was a good extra bonus point for him.
I can't believe that held up. They mentioned it right away that, that's who it is, holding it at this point in the race. I am really surprised that held up through the entire race.
Yeah, it did. And the margin of victory was a significant margin, 1.105 thousandths of a second. So that's a big lead there at the end of the race.
And it was one of those of, and this goes back to, I remember, I think it was Noah Gregson in the Xfinity leading, running the high line. I think it was at Homestead, and they said, maybe try and back it down. He hit the wall and ended up not finishing well. Brandon Jones scrubbed the wall, just that Darlington stripe. But that is one of those really tough to tell a driver, hey, everything you've done to get to this point, don't do in these final 2 or 3 laps. Right, yeah. It's like, wait, that's what got us here. That's why we're up front. And then they try to adjust. That can bite you in the butt too. So It's a fine line. And we know that Darlington is riding that fine line anyway, close to the wall, but not on it.
Yes. So it really was an amazing race. I was happy for Brandon Jones. I know how patient he has been with that 98 race streak. But I feel like even if his confidence was shaken a little bit, I think he still knew that a win was in his future. And, now that he started, we might see some more wins from Brandon Jones.
I think so, and I hope so. And you're right. I'm sure there is that little bit of doubt or questioning, but I really didn't see it as far as lacking in confidence or overdriving or doing not smart things, trying to prove something. He just wrote it out, like you said, wrote it out, knowing it would come back.
Yes. So he must have found what he was looking for, and now we move on to Bristol, and we'll see how he does there. Anything else you want to say about the finishers here?
No. Anything else I've alluded to will show up here in the points, so whenever you're ready for me to hit that, I will.
Yeah, go ahead and hit the points report here.
All right. Well, as I said, and again, stats back it up, Justin Allgaier, the strongest of the year, right now has a 71-point lead over Sam Mayer, one of the Haas factory teams that I said have been impressive. Now, Allgaier does have 2 wins, already built up 13 playoff points. Behind Mayer is Austin Hill, who has 2 wins and 14 playoff points. Those 2 are in the double digits when it comes to playoff points.
Yes.
Then you got Sheldon Creed, the other Haas factory team, in 4th. Jesse Love, Connor Zilich, and Brandon Jones. Now, Love, Zilich, and Jones, all 3 have 1 win, so have at least 5, 7, and 5 respectively. Connor Zilich, the one picking up a couple of stage points or stage wins as well to add to his total. Then behind Jones, you got another rookie, Carson Kvapil, Ryan Sieg, as I mentioned, strong start to the year in 9th. Harrison Burton in 10th, Sammy Smith in 11th. Now he is in 11th because he took a 50-point hit with that penalty from NASCAR. And can we make guarantees here, Sharon? We're going to talk about that on Hot Topics, right? Is that a guarantee?
If that's one of the things you want to talk about.
Yep. I know we talked about leading into it, whether or not they should be. And I know Chris and I disagree on that, but we'll see how we agree or not on the penalty itself. But rounding out the top 12, which is the Xfinity Series cut line for playoffs, is Jeb Burton. He's had a solid start. Wouldn't call it a super strong start, but a solid start. Daniel Dye, rookie, is then 3 points behind him. Eric Almirola is listed there. He is now out of the top 10, again, running partial schedule. Then you got the pack of rookies. I told you, they always seem to run together. Mm-hmm. Nick Sanchez, Christian Eckes, and Taylor Gray. I will tell you this. We've seen it come so close. Speaking of Martinsville and the points penalty, Taylor Gray could have had a victory. So he's 17 in points and 21 or 20 even points out from the playoff cut line. If I were to now pick a rookie to get in on a win, I think the next one we see would be Taylor Gray, based on running. I still like William Sawalitz, and I really got to hope for him to have a turnaround in the second half. But Daniel Dye, I think, is also very close. So, and that's if it comes from the rookies.
Well, I think Taylor Gray probably feels like he was robbed of a victory. So he is going to be on a mission to get that victory back and qualify for the playoffs. So I'm not going to be surprised when he does come up with a victory.
Absolutely not. As mentioned, should already had one. Has been in running up front most of the time, the one finishing, and even like you mentioned here at Darlington, had a problem there at the end. Went to the tail end of the lead lap, last car in the lead lap. You're talking about that now being a 33rd place finish. We've talked about that, how competitive and strong these cars are. And there again, I know some fans are kind of frustrated by that. We don't see the mechanical fallout we used to. I view that as a good thing. I enjoy that because that means everybody's on that lead lap, somewhat competitive, closer in competition than we've seen in the past. I'll put it that way. And I like that.
Yes, indeed. I like that too. And again, I hate to, I feel like I'm a broken record, but just wait for the second half of the season. I think it's going to be an outstanding second half.
Oh, I definitely do. Looking at some of these that have been so close to winning, Sheldon Creed, and this has gone on for how long? Their second place finishes. I feel it's coming this year. I mean, I know I've said that in the past, like you said, a broken record. But when you running that close to the front on a regular basis, I wouldn't say it's by accident, but eventually you are going to win one just by accident.
Yes. And I love the throwback cars that we saw at Darlington as well. The Burtons each drove throwback from their father's cars. Ward Burton for Jeb Burton and Jeff Burton for Harrison. And I thought that was really cool. And then there's just so many others, that we saw throwback cars for in the Xfinity series. And I think in years past, sometimes we didn't see as many in the Xfinity series, but there were a lot this year.
There were, and I thought there were some great ones.
Yes.
I don't know. I know they did one for each series as far as the best. To compare between the Xfinity and Cup would have been tough. As you said, some more participation. And again, we'll talk maybe a little of a hint or teaser for hot topics. Somebody was speaking out against the throwback weekend, and it happens to be NASCAR's most popular driver. That's why I got the Napa. That's why I got the Napa hat on.
Oh, okay. Well, that is interesting.
You can jot that one down on the list there.
Yeah. Definitely. Writing it down as we speak, and throwback weekend. Okay, so anything more you want to say about the Xfinity series?
Can't wait for Bristol, but also as we hit a couple of times this second half of the season, because I see some drivers that are right on the verge of really breaking out and mixing it up with these top drivers. Justin Allgaier already on top of his game. I think he's going to have some close competition when it comes playoff time.
Yes, indeed. And people are watching him, looking at what he's doing on the racetrack and studying right now, especially the rookies. So by the time we get to the second half, they figured some things out, and that's where we're going to really see the competition become more intense. So do watch for more coming soon. This is the Xfinity series that we just talked about. We have the ARCA West series. They raced out at Tucson Speedway this weekend. We'll be talking about their race. After that, we'll get into the NASCAR Cup Series race, 2 in a row for Denny Hamlin. So I'm sure we'll have a lot to talk about there. And then later on tonight, 9 p.m., we'll have our Hot Topic Sound Off conversation that Jay's been alluding to here. And Chris Crichton will join us as we talk about some of the hottest topics in NASCAR from the weekend. So definitely stay tuned for more coming to Fampa Racing Radio. I also want to say thank you so much for listening. We always appreciate people taking the time to tune in. And we love doing this, and we hope you enjoy it as much as we enjoy doing it. So with that, Jay, I think we're ready to go on to our next video.
All right, I'll be ready for it.
Okay. See you in the next video, everyone.